It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs on 23rd Avenue and online at joeskarting.com. As always, karting with a K. We want to say a big thank you to Joe's Karting. Because of them, we were able to join the Stitcher universe, which just basically means pull out your smartphone right now, download the Stitcher app, and you can see I think we've got the last 8 shows loaded on there. It goes back to early May into April. We were talking to Jack Dover and Shaylee Bate and her sisters. We got a lot of shows on there. You can set it up to where it downloads the show when you're on Wi-Fi. As soon as you get the show, it downloads it automatically so that anywhere you're at, you can shut your data off and it's not going to take up your mobile data charges, and you can listen to the show anytime you want to. And we're going to post those shows every Sunday morning when we're recorded at about 10 a.m. When we're live at the racetracks, like we got one coming up in a couple of weeks for the Iowa Speedway weekend, we'll post it Monday morning at about 10 a.m. once we get back to the studio and get everything processed. But yeah, now you can join us on Stitcher, which I think it's a little bit easier app to use than YouTube is. And I was playing around with it this week, listening to some old shows and making some critiques for the show and some notes. And I think that it's kind of cool. So thanks again to Joe's Karting for offering that.
Yeah, that's worldwide now. I guess we're important.
We'll see. Turn number 1, we're going to recap the race at Dover, and turn number 2, we'll talk with David Gravel, driver of the number 5 CJB Motorsports car for the World of Outlaws. They're going to be at Eagle Raceway this coming Tuesday, so make sure you get your tickets now because time is running out. Turn number 3, we will sit down with Johnny Gibson, the announcer for the World of Outlaws, and we'll get you set on the race to come this Tuesday again and what you can expect. And then at turn number 4, we will preview today's race at Pocono.
Where's that recap of the Gambler 500 going to fall in?
Also going to recap Dirk's weekend at the Gambler 500, and as you can hear by that voice, yes, he did make it back to Kansas and back.
Very
right?
Respectable positioning in the end.
Let's quickly recap Dover because, unfortunately, you got two analysts that didn't actually get to see much of the race.
I've got an excuse, though. I was a little busy.
I was working on my kitchen.
My 91 Volvo didn't have the Sirius radio hooked up that I hoped. Or the air conditioning.
I was listening to it on MRN, hoping to go back and watch it Tuesday or Wednesday night, but my DVR didn't catch it. So, again, I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with that thing. But so I didn't get to see it, but I did get to see enough of the clips, and, you can kind of get a gist of it. And MRN does an amazing job of the broadcast, so I got a gist of everything that was going on. Your recap for the race, Jimmy Johnson wins his 11th race at Dover. Unprecedented, record-breaking 11th race at Dover. Kyle Larson comes home second, Martin Truex Jr. third, Ryan Newman fourth, Chase Elliott fifth. Daniel Suarez, Jamie McMurray, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, and Danica Patrick round out your top 10. Rough days for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Brad Keselowski, and Kurt Busch. They all finished 39th and 37th, respectively. Ryan Blaney had a rough day, finished at 32nd. Also, Clint Bowyer, 31st. Joey Logano, 25th. And Casey Kane, 17th after running up there for a little bit. Ty Dillon, who led a good portion of the race, 27 laps there at the end, stayed out on fuel strategy and was able to make that thing work. He had that Geico Chevrolet up front for a little while, and unfortunately, he was turned on the final lap, which sprawled a bit of a conversation later in the week. Is it time for the overtime rule to go away, that overtime line? Because, of course, Dale Earnhardt Jr. came out on Monday and kind of said, I know that I was the one that kind of pushed for NASCAR to have it, but I think it needs to go away. And I listened to his whole reasoning, and I kind of felt like saying, oh, wah, you didn't win. That's the reason why you don't like it, which I'm really surprised I felt that with Dale because he's always been a very even-keel guy. Even if it doesn't benefit him, he's willing to come out and say something about it. Or if it hurts him, he's willing to come out and say something about it because he wants the sport to succeed as a whole. And I can't understand why people have so many problems with this other than the fact that we didn't get to see multiple restarts.
And multiple big ones.
Right. And I mean, I'm so happy that NASCAR has this rule in place because, let's face it, let's see, how many cars ended on the lead lap? There was 16 cars that ended a lap down. 2 cars that ended a lap down, 14 cars that ended on the lead lap, and that last car included Ty Dillon. So let's assume that this rule doesn't exist, and we're going to go back to green. Well, first off, we're going to be under red for probably a half hour to 35 minutes cleaning everything up, because to say it was carnage is a complete understatement.
And then you're going to basically have, 4 cars racing for the win?
You're going to have 14 cars that are going to go back to green.
Oh, there was 14 after the wreck.
Right, 14 after the wreck. Ty Dillon was one of them that was involved in it.
Well, yeah, he was running like 4th or 5th. He was right there in the front.
Right. Since the caution came out and it froze the field, he was counted on the lead lap. 4:06 was the final distance of a 400-lap race because we went into overtime for the previous caution. But my point is, after a long delayed red flag, you're going to go back to green, and it's not going to be that great of a race. And because whoever's in 12th and 10th have a good shot of picking up a couple, there'd have been another caution. I can almost guarantee it.
Oh, yeah, probably.
And we'd have done it again, and we'd have racked it again. And before you knew it, majority of the field would have been going home with destroyed cars. Well, which is one of the reasons why the overtime rule was implemented at the super speedways, was because owners were tired of cars getting destroyed.
Well, it was a super speedway rules type setup, but it was implemented at all the tracks, not just the super speedways. But yeah, like you're saying, you'd have probably ended up, if you'd have kept going and had 2 or 3 more restarts, you'd have probably had another set of pit stops and fresh tires on all the front runners, and it would have cost a bunch more money, overall. So I'm not real fond of a lot of the stuff they do, but this happens to be one of the races where it probably saved everybody a bunch.
I think so, and it's one of the things that I'm glad NASCAR did, it's a cost implementation, it's a cost saving tool, and Lord, look at the field, we need it. When you're running 39 cars, and they don't post how much 40th pays anymore. But I got to imagine it would be beneficial for somebody to throw a starting park together and have a 40th car out there. So who knows? But anyways, that's kind of my spiel on that whole thing. So, but boy, I mean, Jimmy Johnson getting his 11th victory at one track. That's king numbers. That's Dale Earnhardt Sr. numbers. Those are numbers that are not very attainable.
Well, when it was 83rd overall and tied in with Cale Yarborough, what was it, 6th all time, I think? Something like that, 5th or 6th.
I don't have that stat exactly.
Yeah, I think it's 6th. I think it's 6th all time at 83 wins. That's a lot of wins. Yeah. And he's not done. That's obvious. Mm-hmm. Everybody's speculating if he wins a title again this year, will he go ahead and retire because he's got the 8th title?
Yeah.
I don't know if he wants 100 wins to go with that 8th title and possibly a 9th title or a 10th title.
The more I see out of him, I think he's going to be one of those guys that's a lot like Sammy Swindell. As long as he's competitive, he's going to keep racing, and he's going to keep putting up the numbers. I think once it gets, the question won't necessarily be, will it be 8th, 9th, or 10th championships that'll get him to retire? It'll be, am I consistently running competitively? So he's one of the greats of our sport, and I think he's one of those guys that this last week he's drawn a lot of hate because people just love to hate on him when he wins and wins a championship. They make up all these excuses. In 20 years, we're going to be talking about how great it was to watch Jimmy Johnson race because, by the way, guys, he came from 39th. He started in the rear because of a rear gear change. And he made his way to the front. In the first segment, this is what you and I were talking about. In the first segment, he finished top 5. In the first stage, he finished top 5. Second stage, he finished second.
Well, I know when we were on the road somewhere in backwoods of Kansas somewhere, when I finally got up on top of a hill and I could call you because my phone had a signal, and I said, I can't get through to the deal, but I said, I want Jimmy Johnson and my brother wants Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
And that was, 11 o'clock in the morning or something. We had plenty of time, but I just had no idea where I was going to be.
Right.
And it was like 2 in the afternoon, and I obviously know you'd sent me the text back, but it was like 2 when I got it that said, Johnson's going to the back of the field. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, great. And, I'm looking at my watch going, well, the race is 100 laps in. I can't change it now.
Right.
But it worked out okay.
Good. Yeah, it sure did. He actually ended up getting the most points on the day. Now, the Martin Truex Jr. won stage 1 and 2, but he only got 54 points on the day, finishing in that third position. Kyle Larson finishing fifth. A good race, though. I thought it was very competitive. I thought, obviously, Johnson had a good car. Larson had a great car. Truex had a good car. Hamlin was up there for a little while. Surprised at Danica Patrick. I hate to say that, surprised she got a top 10, but good for her. She was able to survive and able to get through that big wreck, and she got, frankly, she got a finish that she didn't deserve, which paid her back. For a lot of times, she didn't get the finish for the one that she did deserve.
Right. Yeah.
She's
on both sides of the fence.
And she said that earlier this week in a Facebook post that, she didn't feel like she had a top 10 car, but she felt like she was owed a top 10 after being taken out several times.
Like the race in Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Dover. We'll come back in turn number 2, talk to David Gravel. Then in turn number 3, we're going to talk with Johnny Gibson, voice of the World of Outlaws. And then in turn number 4, we will preview Pocono and recap the Gambler 500 and hear all the stories. Well, maybe not all the stories.
Not even all the stories. We got 2 or 3 shows we could do.
Some of them can't make the airwaves.
No, they can all make the airwaves.
We'll be back here on the front stretch.
You wanted the best? They're coming 4 abreast. It's the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Cars. The premiered winged warriors battle it out. The World of Outlaws Superstars. The greatest show on dirt is coming. The World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Cars are coming to Eagle Raceway for the Eagle Nationals, Tuesday, June 13th, racing at 7:30. Exchange a receipt from a participating Napa Auto Parts store for a $5 off general admission ticket at the gate on race day. To buy tickets, go to slspromotions.com.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, heading into turn number 2, brought to you by SLS Promotions, bringing you the World of Outlaws at Eagle Raceway. Discount tickets are available at participating Napa Auto Parts stores for $5 off adult tickets. Get them now before this coming Tuesday, and you can get into Eagle Raceway at $5 off. Again, that's at all Napa participating Napa locations. And joining us on the phone to get ready for this race, a guy who is going to be making his debut at Eagle Raceway, David Gravel, driver of the number 5 for CJB Motorsports. David, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're great to talk to you. Pretty excited, too. You're kind of one of these guys that's up and coming through the series. I know you've been racing for a few years, but you've kind of started to pop on at least my radar for the last couple of years, and I got to watch you last year at I-80 Speedway for the World of Outlaws, and I lost a little bit of money because I thought you were going to be my boy, but oh well, maybe this year at Eagle you'll be my horse.
I hope so. It's definitely a track that I've always been wanting to go to and played on one of the video games I used to always play, so I'm definitely looking forward to coming to Eagle for sure.
Yeah, you've never been there before, so what's reconnaissance like for you? Do you watch YouTube videos? Like you said, you've played video games that featured Eagle Raceway, but do you talk more to some of the old-timers in the sport and try to get an idea of the track before you show up?
No, the old-timers, they don't give you any secrets. They always keep those to themselves, so you just learn on your own. You watch a couple YouTube videos, but really nothing's the same until you get on the track and feel it out and all that. Looks are so deceiving from different vantage points of the track, and just one of those things you got to get there and figure out where the best line is, and every night could be a different lane. It could be the best lane, so just something you got to stay on top of.
Yeah, to that point, you could watch a video where the low groove is the way to go, but the night you guys go and race, they could set it up to where it's the high groove.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those things. That's the beauty of dirt racing. That's what makes it, one, really separates the good drivers from the not as good drivers and the good crew chiefs to the not so experienced crew chiefs, because things change so much throughout the night and you got to stay on top of that.
Well, in a 30 or 40 lap feature, the low groove could be the place to be, and everybody gets down there and wears it out, and the high groove's the only thing left.
Yeah, for sure, and that's something as a driver you have to pay attention and stay on top of, because it's typically those last 10 laps is where the track's changing and where you win the races.
As a spectator, the one thing I've been to going to World Outlaws shows at Eagle for a long time, and one thing I really enjoy about that track at a third mile, if you're on the pole, you're going to hit lap traffic in the 5th or 6th lap. And that's when the racing becomes interesting because you guys got to drive everywhere.
Oh, for sure. Clean air is so important with us, and leader typically gets out to a decent-sized lead, and lap traffic tightens that way up, and it's just something that makes it for more exciting racing.
We're talking with David Gravel, driving the number 5 for CJB Motorsports in the World of Outlaws series. David, take us through the start of your career. Looks like you got started racing at about 7 years old. Why did you get into it? Was it a family thing, or was it something that you broke into as the first generation?
Well, there is a little bit of racing heritage in my mom's family, and my dad owned a body shop, so there was a lot of cars around me. So I was surrounded by cars at a young age, and I always drove everything in circles when I was a kid, so they kind of knew something was up, and they had an opportunity to buy a quarter midget, and it was something that cost $1,500. My dad couldn't afford it and had to make payments on it, and we started racing from there. So it's one of those things. My dad had to work really hard to get where he got, and was able to put good quarter midgets underneath me, and was able to travel the country and race at a lot of different places eventually, and we just kept doing that as I moved on. A lot of people that race could typically only run local, and it's something that we always did was travel, and we got to see so many different places, starting from when I was a little kid up to, micros and then up to sprint cars.
Did you get to have much of, how do I want to kind of say this? Like, I want to say like a home life. Like for me, I never traveled anywhere. I mean, going to Omaha when I was a kid was a big deal. And here you're traveling around all these different countries or all these different cities in the country at 7, 10, 12 years old. So did you have a place that you were able to kind of put down roots, or were you kind of a traveling man?
Well, at a young age, I was a normal kid until the summer. The summer we just raced and traveled everywhere where, other kids played baseball and stayed around home and stuff like that. So, during the school year, I was home and played basketball in the winter and stuff like that. So then I was a normal kid. But as racing got more and more serious in high school, I wasn't home on the weekends with all the, high school kids doing what they do. So that separated me there a little bit, but I don't regret anything. I have a job now doing what I love, so I can't complain.
Yeah. At what point did you realize this was going to be your career?
You never know that. The sport is so cutthroat.
Have you still not decided?
Well, I hope so. I hope I have a home, you know what I mean? But It's one of those things you never know. We had our own team, race the All-Stars. They kind of gave me my dad and Ray Capella, who owns JRC Transportation, owned the team together. We had a lot of sponsors helping us out, but it was just enough for us to get by. And I pretty much had 4 years to make it work and, hopefully find a ride or land a job, until then. So it all worked out. I got a ride. Didn't last very long, and got another ride that, put me on the Outlaw Tour, and that lasted almost a year. And then, I had to jump on the 7 car with Destiny Motorsports and, finish out the season there. And now I'm at CJB. So I've been in about 4 or 5 different cars since my own car, and it's all worked out.
Getting a championship for the World of Outlaws is obviously on the horizon for you. Is there a bigger picture that you're shooting for with your career? Or, like you said, you love playing around in the dirt. You love being a part of dirt racing. Is asphalt racing and NASCAR in your future? If that's an opportunity, would that be something you'd take?
If it's an opportunity, definitely something that I would definitely, pursue or consider. It all depends on the situation. NASCAR racing is a very tough business right now, too. So it's one of those things. I just want to race a car for a living. If that's sprint cars, if that's NASCAR, if that's F1, any of those things will do, even if it's a go-kart. As long as I could race and make a living, I'm happy. But with NASCAR, obviously you get the race less, make more money. Just the stuff on the road's tough. Like to be in your 50s and still, try to race 90 times a year to make a living, it gets tough. So I want to try to retire at a decent age and not, hurt myself too bad, because it's dangerous what we do, and you never know in the sport.
You talk about life on the road can be tough, and that's something I applaud you guys for, to be able to go from track to track and put up with the everyday grind of just not having a comfortable place to set your boots at night. what is one creature comfort that you've got to have with you on the road?
Well, it seems like nowadays everybody can't live without their phones. So I guess it would be your cell phone, because we're all, daydreaming on our phones all the time. But, it's just I can't say I've been playing a lot of video games lately, so that's not something. I drive my T-shirt van around now, so I'm actually, doing as much miles as every team now. So
yeah,
it's one of those things. I don't know. I don't really need much. I sleep a lot, and I drive a sprint car, and I eat twice a day. So those three things kind of take up a lot of your time.
Yeah, for me, it'd easily be air conditioning. And we're getting into the time of the year where I will not go without it. And I'm very afraid that if the apocalypse comes, I'm not going to last a week if it happens in the middle of summer, because I can't go without my air conditioning.
Oh, I agree. I didn't even think of that. You take that for granted. So if we didn't have AC, we would be pretty miserable.
I just did a weekend without it in a hot car with the windows up driving in the dirt. So it was an interesting experience, and I'm not looking forward to it again.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. We'll catch you this Tuesday night at Eagle Raceway for the World of Outlaws, brought to you by SLS Promotions. Catch him in the number 5 for CJB Motorsports. David Gravel, good luck to you, bud.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Again, you can get discounted tickets at all participating Napa locations. $5 off adult tickets. Kids are regular price. But get over to I'm really excited about this. Those World of Outlaw guys have put on a heck of a show the last 2 years at I-80 Speedway, and kind of a little bit of variety. They're mixing it up and sending it over to Eagle Raceway for this year's race, and I'm really interested to see what they can do on those high banks.
Well, I'm sorry for Joe and company. I mean, when they get on the bigger half-mile tracks, Eldora, something like I-80 and stuff, they will get strung out. And I just don't think the racing's as good. But at Eagle, like I said, lap traffic, when you're in lap traffic, 5-6 laps in on a 30-lap feature, which is probably what they'll run, it really gets fun to watch. Yeah,
and I tell you, I think in my short career, the best race I've seen was 2 years ago at I-80 for the World of Outlaws, when Donnie Schatz and Danny Lasowski battled for the lead. And for 3 or 4 laps, they were trading slide jobs off of 2, slide jobs off of 4. That was some of the best racing, and it came down to the last couple of laps to win that race. And Lasowski was able to steal it away from Schatz, which made it just that much better. And by the way, that was the first time Donnie Schatz was a complete jerk to me, which I guess I can understand. He much like Kyle Busch, doesn't like finishing in second place, so he was kind of in a poopy pants mood that night and wouldn't give me the time of day, which,
oh well.
We've had that discussion of how I feel about that. We're going to take a break. We'll come back in turn number 3. We're going to talk to the voice of the World of Outlaws. Johnny Gibson's going to join us. He's going to talk about the start to the season and what you fans can expect. Because, man, if you've talked about anybody that's seen some sprint car racing, Johnny Gibson has to have seen a lot, the most of it of anybody in this world, being the voice of the World of Outlaws for so long. I think he could even challenge Stan for as much sprint car racing as he's seen. But we'll talk to him next, coming up on the front stretch.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
This week's Young Gun is Alan Hopp from Harlan, Iowa. Alan got into racing after watching his father Gary Hopp race for years. Alan got his first ride when he was 7 years old, and just 5 years later he won his first go-kart championship. The next year he moved into the B-Mod class, and in his third year won a championship at his home track of Shelby County Speedway. In the last few years, Alan's moved into the late model class, competing throughout the Midwest. This year he plans on racing weekly at Shelby County Speedway, where he has his eyes set on a track championship. He also plans on racing as many Deary Brothers and Malvern Banks Super Late Model races as he can. His career goals include winning a Malvern Banks Super Late Model Championship, winning a Lucas Oil Late Model race, and even trying his hand at a sprint car. Make sure you keep your eye out for Alan Hopp in the number 80 Performance Grading, Envy Suspension, Polly Jones Funeral Home, AgCom Insurance Late Model at a track near you. This week's Young Gun is presented by I-80 Speedway, home of the Silver Dollar Nationals, July 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
NASCAR weekly racing action returns to I-80 Speedway this Friday at 7:15. During intermission, kids up to 12 years old can participate in the Kids Candy Dash along the front stretch. Adult tickets are $10. Kids 6 to 12 get in for just $5, and kids 5 and under get in free. Get out to I-80 Speedway this Friday night for Kids Candy Dash and great family fun. I-80 Speedway, located between Omaha and Lincoln on exit 420 and online at i80speedway.com.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the show. Heading into turn number 3, it's time to sit down with the voice of the Outlaws, the World of Outlaws sprint cars, brought to you, presented by Craftsman Tools. Johnny Gibson joining us on the phone. How you doing, Johnny?
Doing great.
You know, last turn I was saying that you're probably the guy that's seen the most sprint car races in all of America. Would you estimate I'd be close on that?
I don't know about that. Probably pretty close over the course of the last 20 years or so, but yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, you've been the voice of the World of Outlaws for quite a while. Talk us through that a little bit. When did you get started with that?
I actually started working for the Outlaws in 1995, selling programs. 97 was my first year as the series announcer, and I've been doing it ever since.
It's what a great job, though. I mean, it's a hard job. I do announcing on a local basis, and the things you touring announcers do is amazing. But every once in a while, you sit back and think, I get paid to talk about what I see.
Oh, absolutely. I am a very fortunate person. I get to do something I love for a living, and I really have no idea what else I would do if this ever came to an end. I just really enjoy what I get to do and what I get to see.
You probably wouldn't go back to selling programs, though, would you?
Actually, still have a little bit of a part in that, but not nearly as much as it used to be, that's for sure.
That might be your retirement plan someday. You start selling programs, you make your way to the top, you end back down selling programs. Well, we're talking to you because the World of Outlaws are coming to Eagle Raceway for the first time since 2012, this coming Tuesday at 7:30. And again, you can get $5 off your general admission tickets by getting them at any Napa participating parts stores. And let's talk about this season. It's a long, grueling season for the World of Outlaws, and you guys got it kicked off early.
Yeah, we got started back in February in Volusia Speedway Park in Florida. We are maybe slightly more than a third of the way through the schedule right now as we sit here in Knoxville, Iowa, waiting for races this Friday and Saturday, and then, of course, at Eagle on Tuesday. But I am so excited to be going back to Eagle. One of my top 5 tracks that I've ever been to. I've been to 357 racetracks, and Eagle is in my top 5. So really looking forward to getting back there. Couple of interesting points to talk about for the return to Eagle. First of all, the track record there at Eagle, established in 2009 by Sammy Swindell at 11:076. The question is, can we see the first ever 10-second lap at Eagle Raceway this Tuesday night when qualifying time trials get underway? We set a brand new track record up at the Jackson Motorplex in Jackson, Minnesota this past weekend. David Gravel, now a track record holder there, taking it away from, ironically, Sammy Swindell, the record holder at Eagle.
Well, we just actually got off the phone with David Gravel, and we were talking about the fact that I've seen countless sprint car races at Eagle. Dan's kind of new to the sport, but I've been around it my whole life, and it is a great track for the World of Outlaws. It's small enough that in 5 laps in that feature, they're going to be in lap traffic, and that's what makes the race so interesting.
Absolutely, and you talk about David Gravel coming to Eagle. He's never raced with the Outlaws at Eagle. Neither has Brad Sweet. So interesting, 2nd and 3rd in the Outlaw point standings will be seeing Eagle for the first time.
Schatz is one of the few guys in the field that has seen Eagle Raceway, and obviously Schatz doesn't need any more advantage than he already has. So he's going to be a tough guy on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think Donnie will be right up there. Always is, of course, anytime the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series comes into town. But Darren Pittman, currently 4th in the point standings, looking for his first win of the year. But Pittman's been a winner at Eagle in the past, won on June 10th of 2006 there.
And we love talking to Darren Pittman, too. He's a great guy.
And could Eagle be the place where maybe Darren gets that first win of the year? They've been very consistent, had some runner-up finishes, but still have not been to victory lane. I know it's really eating away at Darren, and he's certainly hoping to break through here in the coming week or so.
What about what fans can expect? I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen the World of Outlaws at Eagle. We've seen some 410s over the last couple of years, but that's not the World of Outlaws. The World of Outlaws are the best of the 410s as far as I'm concerned. And lately, they've had the Race Saver 305s out there that put on some pretty competitive action, but we're going to be in for a kind of a culture shock.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's certainly you see lap times a lot quicker with the 410s than you'll see with the 305s, obviously. But I imagine we'll have somewhere right around 30 cars is what my expectation would be on Tuesday evening. So we'll have our qualifying time trials and heat races, the Craftsman Club Dash, and main event. And again, like you mentioned, the traffic into play right off the bat, 4 or 5 laps into it. Should make for a fantastic race. I love the fact the corners at Eagle were so wide. You have all these, all the space for these slide jobs. You can get somebody ripping around the top and maybe move the cushion up by the wall and make some time up there. Again, Eagle, one of my top 5 in 357 tracks that I've been to.
Yeah, that's crazy, that number of tracks you've been to. I think I've been to 6.
He went to 6 last week, Dan.
We're talking with Johnny Gibson, the voice of the Outlaws. You kind of talked about it a little bit. Could this be the year that we see a sub-11-second record set at Eagle? And you talked about how that record was set quite a while ago by Sammy Swindell. And these cars change so much from year to year. Better yet, over a 5, 6, 7-year period, you guys really start shaving off tenths that get down into that chance that we could see a 10-second lap.
It is. A lot depends on weather conditions that day and what the track is like. The thing about making track record horsepower is the air has to be right for these engines. The combination of air and fuel mixture, things have to be absolutely perfect. So I haven't really looked at an advanced forecast to see just what kind of temperatures or humidity we're going to be dealing with at Eagle. But still, when the record's 11-0, always a very good chance we can finally break into that 10-second bracket.
Yeah, I didn't see the humidity for next week, but I did check out the temp, and I think it's like they're calling for a high of like 84 on next Tuesday.
Okay, should be pretty good.
Yeah, that's not too bad. And today the humidity's great. It's only like 49% out there. For us, that might as well be 0. Hey, how's the you've been around the sport a long time, and I used to be involved with NASCAR with the Craftsman Truck Series back then and thought Craftsman was a fantastic sponsor. How are they doing with the World Outlaws?
It's been a really great experience for us to have Craftsman aboard as the marketing partner. The things that they do, I think the thing that I tweeted about this maybe at the beginning of last year or so, but Craftsman actually gets it as far as what dirt track racing is, what roots racing is. They get it, and I think that's been something that has lacked over the course of the years with the World of Outlaws sprint cars, is that we've got a sponsor that wants to be involved in dirt track racing, wants to stay around, wants to be up close and personal with the fans, and I think that's what we give them an opportunity to do.
One thing that I thought that was really cool when I saw you guys last year at I-80 Speedway was that you guys implemented the racing electronics to where fans can bring the same radios that they have at NASCAR tracks to the racetrack for the World of Outlaws, and they can listen directly to you because we all know how loud it can get at those tracks. And like Dirk said, within about 5-6 laps, there's going to be lap traffic, and they need to be able to hear you, the voice of the Outlaws, to be able to understand what's going on.
Yeah, it's called the Scanner Up program. We broadcast over the Receiver scanner, and actually, if you've got the scanner, you can be able to listen to not only the PA call, but you'll get to hear the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series officials and the Receiver radios that the drivers hear, exactly what the drivers hear in their helmets while they're out on the racetrack.
That's really cool. I always love that aspect of the NASCAR portion, and I wish more dirt tracks would be able to get into that, is that being able to listen what the officials are saying to the drivers and what the officials are saying back and forth. Although sometimes that can be a bad thing. And
I think, you have to keep in mind that fans are listening. I think that's one of the things that comes about with the level of professionalism you see with the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series.
You guys go from February to early November, but lucky we don't have to wait for you much longer. Just a couple of days away from the World of Outlaws making their return to Eagle Raceway. Johnny, always do appreciate the time. Love talking to you, bud.
Guys, thanks for having me on and looking forward to seeing you out at Eagle. Can't wait to get back there.
Thanks. We'll see you there.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks, guys.
And Dirk and I will be out there along with Chris Krug, who helps us out with some of our sprint car stuff. He's going to be joining us out there, and I can't wait for that race. I didn't get to experience a lot of upper engine sprint cars at Eagle Raceway. When I first got into the sport, I went to Eagle a couple of times. I saw an ASCS show there, which is obviously 410s, and Tony Stewart won that night. But I'm really excited to see the World of Outlaws because, it sounds like I'm just promoting it because, one, they're one of our sponsors, but two, because I'm trying to promote a race. But they really do bring a level of racing that you can't get anywhere else for the sprint cars.
Like I said, this race, if you're going to go watch a sprint car race, this is the track to go do it at, especially with these guys, because it is just amazing. I sat one night, it was several years ago, I don't remember which year, but Steve Kinzer literally bounced his right rear tire off the wall coming off of turn 2 about 20 laps in a row. He just found a spot and thought it was fast, and he just kept smacking that tire on the wall, and down the back chute he'd go. And it was just amazing that the tire held up for one, but he did it every lap. And he might have not known he was hitting the wall. He might have thought he was just hitting a berm there or something, but no, it was the wall.
There's a lot of guys that have raced at Eagle that knew darn well they hit the wall, but that's kind of funny. I saw a couple of guys a couple of weeks ago that knew very well they hit the wall, and they went to the ambulance, and thankfully they were okay. Again, thank you so much to SLS Promotions for bringing us sponsorship dollars here on the front stretch and keeping us going. If you want to get out to the Eagle Raceway, again, show starts at about 7:30 on Tuesday. You can get your tickets still in advance, slspromotions.com. You can pick them up at any participating Napa Auto Parts store. Just exchange your receipt, go to Napa, purchase anything. Buy a screwdriver, buy a socket set, buy tie downs. Take that receipt with you to the gate at Eagle Raceway, and you'll get $5 off your ticket. You just have to show that you supported Napa, because Napa does so much to support sprint car racing and dirt racing in general. That's how you get $5 off your general admission tickets.
Napa was on the hood of my Gambler 500 car,
How
as a
about
matter
that?
of fact.
Let's take a break. We're going to come back at turn number 4. We're going to try and preview Pocono, but I have a feeling we're not going to have much time after we hear some stories from Dirk about the Gambler 500. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
You wanted the best? They're coming 4 abreast. It's the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Cars. The premiered winged warriors battle it out. The World of Outlaws Superstars. The greatest show on dirt is coming. The World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Cars are coming to Eagle Raceway for the Eagle Nationals, Tuesday, June 13th, racing at 7:30. Exchange a receipt from a participating Napa Auto Parts store for a $5 off general admission ticket at the gate on race day. To buy tickets, go to slspromotions.com.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Welcome back to the front stretch. How to get to turn number 4, and it's time to talk about the Gambler 500. We're going to get to a couple of stories, but did you think this was going to be as much fun as it turned out to be?
I had hoped it would.
Yeah.
I really wasn't sure where it was going to end up, and with my deal with my kidneys and my fluid intake and stuff, we made sure that Joel said the air conditioner worked on this car, but he didn't tell me it was a very temporary fix. I was driving a 91 Volvo, and
by the way, you can see pictures on the Front Stretch Facebook page. We've got those up.
The car seemed to run good, all 92 horsepower, and with monstrous tires on the back, it took forever to get going. But when you went by people at 80 miles an hour because they were doing 60, I couldn't figure out why it was happening, but it took a while. But it got there.
By the way, in comparison, World of Outlaw Sprint Car, 900 horsepower. Dirk's Volvo, 92
horsepower. And when you turn the air conditioner on, about 60 usable horsepower. But the car was old enough, and Joel provided it and had done a lot of work with it, and had done a lot of rewiring on it, so stuff worked. None of the switches worked in the dash for the air conditioning or anything, so you literally had to open the hood and plug the air conditioner in to have it turned on, and you had to open the hood and unplug it to turn it off. So we opened the hood and turned it on when we left, and by 10 o'clock Saturday morning, all the Freon was out of it, and I had no more air conditioning.
Aww.
And driving it for another 5 hours without any air conditioning, I think just welded up the compressor. So when I got up Sunday morning to start driving, and I hit 20 miles an hour, the belt squealed like all get out. So we unhooked the air conditioning for the whole day on Sunday, which was terrible.
By the way, if you want to follow along with us a little bit, go to the Front Stretch Facebook pages. Go to the Front Stretch Facebook page, and on Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday morning at about 9:45, we posted pictures that Joel had shared from all of the cars in the couple of days of all the cars that entered into this thing. And I'm just thumbing through some of these pictures, and there's these cars. Do you want to talk about people getting creative?
Well, that's why it's called the Gambler 500, because you're gambling on whether you're going to make it to the end or not. I think there were 11 people, that didn't make the call Sunday morning, if I'm not mistaken, out of the 54.
So take us through the very beginning of it. And again, let's kind of recap what the Gambler 500 was.
The Gambler 500 is a navigational challenge or a rally. It's based on speed, but not fast speed. Everything, Joel set the course up off of Google Maps, and you had to have something, which we borrowed a Garmin, which we'll get to in a little bit, to put in latitude and longitude. And, the satellite deal picks you up right where you're located through GPS, and then it puts a little dot on your map and tells you you're 21 miles away, and it's going to take 23 minutes to get there.
Yep.
And then you're going down back roads, and you're turning wherever the Garmin says to turn, even though the Garmin sometimes, when you want to go 3 miles, it makes you drive 7 repeatedly, more often than not. But it was literally through back roads. We went through one creek, one cornfield, and then throughout the thing, we drove by a lot of lakes, and down by the boat ramps, they'd have a notice, and you had to answer a question on this notice. And there was one deal we had to ask. We were in Maryville, Kansas, and we had to get down to this little park and answer a question about a river ferry that was there. And we messed around, as far as I know, about half the people never did find it, but about half of us that did messed around for 20 or 25 minutes finding how to get into that park, because the entrance to the park was about 5 miles away from where the thing was. So it was rather interesting at times. But there were a couple spots where they put right on there that recovery was likely. They had several big 4x4s that were completely stocked up with tools, welders, compressors, tow rigs, whatever you needed. And but me, of all places, I got stuck in a place where it didn't say I was supposed to get stuck. A bunch of us, I was fourth in line going up a hill, and all of a sudden the guy got to the very top, and he brake checked. Everybody hit their brakes. I hit my brakes and slid right in the ditch to the left. And I couldn't even open my door. I was up against the berm and the ditch, and my left rear tire wasn't touching anything. So but about 2 minutes behind me was a Jeep, and they were nice enough. Everybody was real nice. They hooked up. Joel equipped this car with a big push bar on the front, and they just flopped a tow strap around that, put it on their ball, and yanked me right out.
Some of the pictures of these things, Winnebagos, they had vans.
Well, did they have a front shot of that Winnebago? It had like a 6,000-pound winch on the
I did see that, yeah.
He goes, if I get stuck, I'm just going to hook onto a tree and pull myself out. But,
so take me back to the time thing. So you were supposed to get from point A to point B in how many minutes, hours?
Well, the first day, I'm not sure what the total was. The second day, the total was 7 hours and 51 minutes.
Okay. And so if you arrived in 7 minutes or 7 hours and 45 minutes.
You were 6 minutes early.
Yep.
Every minute you were early was a 5-point penalty. This was scored like golf. Minus was good.
Okay.
At the end of the first day, the leader was minus 17. There were 20 bonus points you could get from zero, so minus 20 was perfect, which means he was 3 minutes late. You lost 1 second for every minute you were late.
Okay.
And at the end of the first day, I got the 20 bonus points, but on the time part, I was plus 55. And I couldn't figure out at first. I finally had to go ask, was I 55 minutes late? Because that didn't make any sense to me. Or was I 11 minutes early? And it ended up I was 11 minutes early. But at the halfway point, I was 16 minutes behind, which means on the second half I made up 27 minutes.
Wow.
And I couldn't quite figure that out again. It went back to oversized tires on this car when I thought I was driving 65 down the interstate or down the state highway. I went by some people, and when we were camping that night, they said, "Man, you went by us about 80. What was going on?" And I was going, "Oh, the oversized tires." That's where I made up all my time. But
did you put the Go Big Red flag in the window?
No, they had that for me.
Okay, all right.
They had that for me. I put the two signs on the side for auto time and for the front stretch.
Yep, thank you.
And but that's just my excuse for the first day because I was 11 minutes early the second day. So I'm consistent. If nothing else. So out of I lost 110 points for time for the 2 days, and my score was 109, which means I ended up 1 on the positive for the rest of it.
Oh, not bad.
It ended up 15th out of 54, and never having done it before, I was more than satisfied with that.
You got to climb a hill for bonus points.
Yep, I had there was a hill at the state park. We were at Tuttle Creek, and just outside of Manhattan, Kansas, is where we camped on Saturday night. And they had a little rock climbing area over there, and they had these guys with these, crawler Jeeps and stuff like that. And some of these guys, one guy about flipped over backwards going up this hill I went up. And Joel looked at me, and he says, "But it's 10 bonus points if you can get up the hill." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's your car. I'll do that." So I just slammed it in the low gear and put my foot on the floor and never lifted. And
with those back tires, I'm not surprised you made it up. I mean, granted, it's a front-wheel drive car, so that I guess
it's a rear-wheel drive car.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
You don't see many of those.
No. No, it's a rear-wheel drive car. 91. Wow. It's old enough. But, it went right up it. Now, the scary part was coming back. I was just trying to follow the path around, but you went up 200 or 300 yards, and it was just a small cul-de-sac. It took me forever to get turned around. So I go, I'll go down this path. And I got on one path where I thought I was going to fall over. Mm-hmm. We were at a very severe incline with the driver's door almost on the ground. It was kind of spooky. And I asked Joel, I said, "Can I get 10 more bonus points if I go up backwards?" No. No. But the Winnebago made it up there.
Yeah, I saw that video. That was
he went a different path than I went. I wanted a little bit of a challenge.
Oh, my. I just saw the picture of the groom's car. That's a whole lot of can't make the airwaves.
Oh,
describing that thing.
Yeah, there was a couple guys. Evidently, one of them was getting married, so they had a 94 Geo Tracker. Would normally be a soft top, but without the top. So it was like a convertible going down these dusty roads. And we came upon them Sunday morning after about 2 hours on the road, and they were getting out to relieve themselves. And I thought they were wearing white shirts. And then when they got up from the seat, you could see exactly where the seat was. It was a black T-shirt that had turned white.
Oh.
They were wearing like the tuxedo T-shirts and stuff. And they had plenty of paraphernalia on this rig to work the bachelor party.
I'm trying to ask this question as PC as possible, but there is a inflatable doll on the front and a picture of somebody. Is that his fiance or is that a celebrity?
I'm not sure who that is because I saw several inflatable dolls along the way. He was with a group of some buddies, and that was what would have been neat, is there were several cars that were like on a team. There'd be like 3 or 4 cars working together.
Okay.
And you'd see them stopped here and there. They'd go 3 checkpoints, then they'd all get out somewhere and have a beer and whatnot. And me and my brother, like I said, we'd never done this, and it was all new to us, and we got so screwed up the first day that we just tried to go by the book the second day and still ended up. We wasted 10 minutes at the end of the day, 10 or 12 minutes, because I knew we were early. I just didn't know how early. And you actually need 3 people to do this. You need the driver, the navigator, and you need to have the other person doing the math on your travel time in the back seat.
I wouldn't be good on that.
No.
So don't bother hiring me.
No. And
Garmin
was a disaster most of the time, taking us several miles out of our way several times. I mean, at one point, we're again 4th or 5th in a row of cars all traveling north up some road, and my brother's going, turn here. And so I'm going, what? And he shows me the map, and I said, okay, so I turn. It takes us 2 miles west, a mile north, 2 miles back east. So we're back on the road we started on, then another mile north and 2 miles back west. So wasted 4 miles of nothing, plus the slowing down and speeding up and all that stuff. And it did that several times. It wasn't the only time.
Yeah.
But like I said, if I'd go back again, it'd be a 3-man team. Mm-hmm. And I would rent a camper wherever the campground's going to be that has air conditioning to sleep in. Because sleeping when it's 85 degrees outside or 83 degrees, whatever it was, wasn't good. And the younger kids partied like it was 1999. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, we were still up, and my body's too old for that kind of stuff.
I bet.
And then one of the couples got into a fight, and there was a lot of F-bombs coming from a female voice.
Well, it's not a good night until a couple gets into a fight.
But
so that was the Gambler 500. Plans to do it again next year? Was it a success?
I enjoyed it, but to me, the thing would be the air-conditioned vehicle.
Yeah.
You know, just because I can't drink a bunch of fluid and cool down like a normal person could.
Right.
You know, I mean, I was sitting there at 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon, and I had nothing in my body to sweat out anymore, and that wasn't a good feeling.
Yeah, I bet.
And my core and stuff, my ribs and my one ab muscle from my pony keg is sore today from all the bouncing around. I don't have a six-pack anymore. I did when I was 20, but I got a pony keg now, one ab muscle, and it is all sore.
Yeah.
But, no, it was fun. It was a good experience, nice people. Everybody seemed to have a good time. You know, I don't remember an accident. Like I said, if they gave you these little tokens, just little plastic coins, you got 5 of them. And if you helped somebody, they were supposed to give you a token. That token was minus 20 points. If you had to give a token away, it was plus 5. So it wasn't that big a deal. I did have to give that. I gave that Jeep guy one for helping me out. But I never collected any. We were early in the day on Sunday, and we just never ran across anybody with trouble. Ran across a lot of people with trouble on Saturday because we got so screwed up at the beginning. I thought we were on the tail end for a while.
Yeah.
But everybody was just fine, and it was kind of weird sometimes because we went by this Dodge Diplomat with these 2 guys in it, and they're out, and they've got a water fire extinguisher on the side of the car, and they've got the air cleaner off. I stopped, said, "You guys need help? You all right?" And no, we're fine. So we took off. It had to take them 5 minutes to put the car back together. 7 minutes later, they're like ahead of us a mile on the road. Where did they go?
Yeah.
You know? But, yeah, a lot of fun. If you get a chance to do one of these, there is one coming up in Iowa here shortly. I think it's the end of June or July. No, it's in August, I think.
Okay.
Because we were talking, there was people from Harlan up there, that race fans that we talked to, and there were some other people that listened to the show. I mean, there was people from all over the place, Missouri, Kansas. I think there was a group from Wyoming that came down, but it was a lot of fun. And I would recommend trying one if you want a little bit of an adventure, and just go into it. You know, and if you want to call up the radio show and get some pointers, I mean, I can tell you, like I said, you need 3 people. You need a navigator, a timekeeper, and a driver. And you're going to need a sturdy vehicle because these the roads that they map these out on every time, by
Road's
every mile.
A loose term.
Well, no, it'll say low maintenance road. I mean, there was stuff where we were driving down where there was tracks for tires, but the grass that was in the middle was 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
And grass is a loose term. The vegetation was 6 foot tall. But no, it was a lot of fun. I got lucky; had no flat tires. We did see a lot of flats. And that, for one thing, is I was actually prepared. I borrowed an electric impact. I wasn't going to sit out there with a 4-way. I was going to
Yeah.
But no,
well, cool.
Good party on Saturday night, and but that's something I'd redo different. Joel let everybody camp at his place. He's got 10 acres down there east of Beatrice. Everybody camped out in his hayfield on Friday night, and I guess the partying was rather late because one of the kids from Harlan was really disgusted with it. I can't believe I did that last night. I felt like crap all day. But
I've had those nights get away where I'm like, I'm just going to have a beer or two, and then 12-pack later, I'm like, oh my God, how did that happen?
It got away from me.
All right, let's preview Pocono. We'll put the Gambler 500 behind us and see if we can't talk you into doing it next year with the caveat that we have air conditioning and that your brother splurges on a little bit of ice for you. I mean, for crying out loud.
Well,
Q, come on.
That wasn't that big a deal. I mean, it's with my body issues, you know. I just got to do things a little bit different. So it was a learning experience in that respect, too. And I definitely put a bunch of fluid in when we got too cold fluid that the dialysis people weren't real happy with me. But I'll be caught up by this Friday.
Hey, I want to make a side note. We talked to Luke Cochran last week, and after the interview was over with, he said, you know what, we completely forgot to mention the Home Pride Kids money grab that's going on at I-80 Speedway. So make sure that if you want to get tickets to the July 7th, I-80 Speedway, Corn Growers Association Night at the Races, which is also the Home Pride Kids Money Grab, and the Bill Rick Tribute, because the Good Old Time Racing Association will be there. Luke Cochran has like 6,000 free tickets. They're available at his Omaha location and his Lincoln location, so you can pick up tickets at both of those locations, and you can get to the races for absolutely free. All right, for Pocono today, this time last year, Kurt Busch got the win. Dale Earnhardt Jr. second, Brad Kozlowski third, Chase Elliott fourth, Joe Logano fifth, Casey Kane, Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, and Ryan Blaney round out your top 10. Obviously, Edwards not competing in this year's race. This is kind of one of those weird ones where we went to Pocono and then, it's just a couple of weeks later, right? Like 4 or 5 races later, we go back. So results from the later Pocono race, Chris Buescher won a rain-shortened race, followed by Brad Keselowski, Regan Smith, Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, your top 5. Larson, Hamlin, Edwards, and the Busch brothers, 9th and 10th. Kyle coming in 9th, Kurt coming in 10th. And again, Ryan Blaney right outside the top 10, so good run for Ryan. Both of those races. The Tricky Triangle up today, I like this race, but it's a long one.
Well, it's a race if you can figure out the shifting part. You know, some guys shift, some don't, but it usually ends up being a shifter guy that wins. And if you don't have a parts failure, you know, you can be very fast here. When they redid the third turn a couple years ago, now it used to be you had to get right on the bottom of that turn, and now it's the middle to upper part of the track where they redid the concrete that really makes you fly. But the track is so bumpy in 1 and 2, it is not for the faint of heart.
And it's if I recall, it is the longest straightaway on the Monster Energy circuit.
It's probably the longest straightaway in the world on a racetrack. It is a long
It's a long straightaway. When they come out of 3 for that final lap, I mean, it's it'll change position several times if they're side by side because, I mean, you can't really describe how long it is. It goes on for an eternity.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's drafting at this track, especially on that front straightaway. There's a little bit of drafting on the second straightaway, the short straightaway, not quite so much, but the guys have figured out how to drive this. It used to be literally one groove through the turns, and like I said, the groove now in turn 3 has moved up. You'll see a lot of guys try too wide in the second turn, and that's a tough spot because that wall comes up real quick if you're on the outside.
Yeah.
So you'll see a lot of guys try it and then end up losing a lot of ground, having to back off.
And this is typically with it being up in the Poconos and this time of year, we do usually have weather that comes into play. So keep your eye on the weather for today. It could be a rain-shortened race. It could be a delayed race.
Yeah, a lot of Poconos get rain-shortened. Well, Chris Buescher's race last year was rain-shortened. So, you know, and he made the right decision and stayed out. I talked to Chris about that when we were in Kansas a few weeks ago. And, you know, he's done something that just a minuscule percentage of people on the face of the earth have done is won a cup race.
Even a small percentage of people that have competed in the Cup Series have not been able to win a race.
You know, and I mean, it put a smile on his face, you know, that somebody recognizes that he won the race because, you know, every time, I don't care who it is, wins a gas mileage race or a rain-shortened race. You know, you didn't win the race. It got cut short by rain. No, you got the checkered flag. You won. Right. You took home the trophy. You took home the check.
Yeah. They don't ever cut a team short when they win it off of a special teams punt return.
Right.
You know, they say, well, you played 4 quarters, you won the... They played the game just like everyone else did. They had the winning strategy. And a lot of times, strategy plays into wins more than the actual driver talent does.
Well, we just saw it at the 600 with Austin Dillon.
Yeah.
You know, that was a strategy deal. And he got out and dabbed at the end, too, just like Cam Newton would or whatever. I don't know what the deal is with the dab, but anyway, he did it.
I'm ready for it to go away. I was really sad that he did the slide because I think that is the worst victory celebration. It's just one of these days he's going to hit a dry patch and he's going to eat grass and I'm going to laugh about it.
Well, as long as he don't dive on the grate for the drain, he'll be pretty good.
Bust up his face getting into victory lane. That'd be a rough one. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We were kind of playing on if we had some time to recap the I-80 Dirt Classic, which was a phenomenal race between the USAC wingless races. And man, you didn't get to go out to that because you were busy doing the Gambler 500. But holy cow, that USAC race, the speeds were slower than I had anticipated. I didn't quite calculate it. You know, lower downforce, they're not going to have as much traction going through the corners, so they got to slow down. It made sense after I started watching them. I was like, oh, yeah, duh. But, man, slide job city the last 5 laps between the race winner and second place, and that was absolutely phenomenal to watch.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch that, but I did watch the feed where I was at down at the campground in Kansas for the Malvern Bank race, so I did get to see that. And,
yeah, that was a great race,
I'm not going to
too.
mention whose feed it was. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but there were several of them out there. So, but I did get to watch some of that.
You know, that's something that we do need to eventually have a conversation about in this race on this show is the impact of Facebook living and streaming these races, and that there are legal ramifications for these tracks.
Oh yeah,
that I wasn't aware of until Joe brought it up to my attention. That NASCAR, the sanctioning body, is advising all of their tracks do not allow people to Facebook Live, because with the Kevin Ward situation, you could be liable and you could be responsible for putting something away because of a bad camera angle. But that's all there was, and so that's what they used, and you could end somebody's career or whatever.
There's that, and if anybody would have seen Kevin get hit like that, a relative or something that wasn't at the track. I mean, you got notifications and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can see several ends, and I've seen a lot of talk that I stayed out of, on Facebook with people discussing this. Well, I'm going to do it at every track I go to. Well, in my view, you're stealing from the track.
I completely
agree.
Because
all those people didn't pay for it. That's why they have, your dirt on dirt broadcasts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, but, it is what it is. And you got people that are going to break the law because they aren't smart enough to know that they're responsible for their actions.
Yep. Going back to the USAC race, Tyler Courtney got the win, but the race between him and Chris Windham was absolutely one for the ages. And if you could find that race anywhere through USAC, if anybody streamed it, you need to. For the for the Super Late Model Series presented by Malvern Bank, Kyle Burke got the win. Bill Layton Jr. battled him hard. Corey Zeitner was up there, but Jesse Sobbing and Tad Pospischel were the conversation. During the race and after the race, there was a lot of conversation about the contact that happened between the two of them, and not a lot of friendly words said between them, but I suspect those two guys will meet at the next Malvern Bank Super Late Model race and agree to disagree and be gentlemanly about it. But there wasn't much gentlemanly going on after the race.
I know everybody's shared the video with Jesse getting into a car in the back and doing his 360 on the back straightaway and staying in it.
What a move. I mean, I knew it could happen. I just didn't believe it. And then I saw Jesse do it. So basically Tad Pospischel got into him. I'm not saying it was a negative thing or it was a bad thing, but it was Tad Pospischel that pushed him. And Jesse went around and never lost a spot.
Well, I thought, from the view I saw, Jesse got into the car that was in front of him and hooked him, and that's what sucked his nose down. Now, Tad might have hit him from behind, but that wasn't Tad's fault. If Jesse hadn't hit the car in front of him, it never would have happened.
Yeah, and the video's going around.
I don't think he did it on purpose.
I don't think so either.
Together. It was a racing deal.
My conversation is, when was the last time you saw a dirt track driver do a complete 360 and not lose any spots? Oh. Especially when there was a guy sitting right next to him that was maybe a car length off of him that he was battling for position.
Well, yeah, but Tad lifted so he wouldn't pile him up.
Yeah.
Tad could have kept his foot in it, and then you'd had two tore-up cars on the back straightaway.
The most annoying thing I see is when these guys spin and then they stall and stop and wait for the caution to come out. I don't think Jesse ever lifted. He just stayed right in the throttle, spun that car around.
Yeah, I didn't look at it that close to see if he never lifted, because you actually lose sight of his car for a little bit as he goes trying to get around the car that he nosed into. Like I said, nothing was malicious in the whole deal, but it was kind of a weird move and definitely something to take a look at.
Absolutely. All right, that's gonna do it for us today. The race today at Pocono. Make sure you get your picks in on time. And don't forget to join the Iowa Speedway Crewman for a Day contest. If you want to pick up and join that contest, just send us an email, frontstretchradio@gmail.com. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. We'll be back next weekend to do it all over again. This is The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
NASCAR weekly racing action returns to I-80 Speedway this Friday at 7:15. During intermission, kids up to 12 years old can participate in the Kids Candy Dash along the front stretch. Adult tickets are $10. Kids 6 to 12 get in for just $5, and kids 5 and under get in free. Get out to I-80 Speedway this Friday night for Kids Candy Dash and great family fun. I-80 Speedway, located between Omaha and Lincoln on exit 420 and online at i80speedway.com.
The official watering hole of the Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.